Hey guys, what's going on? It's noon. I've got the slim and trim and ultra handsome Professor Joe Murphy with me today.
Good to see you guys.
We're going to work on our adults all levels class today, no gi style. So we're going to jump right into it, guys. We're working on our takedown. All right. Same thing is going to happen. What I want to do is get wrist control first, because what I'm trying to prevent is Joe just go ahead and grabbing my head or starting to grab his grips. So if I gain wrist control first, I can start to work my collar tie. I can start initiating the grips over waiting for Joe. One thing I'll bring up about this wrist is right where my hand's at, I need that in my armpit. So this is what's going to happen. I'm going to lift. It's very specific. Come here, Jenny, I'll show you. So this is what our hands are going to do, guys. This hand right here is going to lift, and I'm going to make like a knife edge so that way I can swim my hand underneath. So again, I've got wrist control or moving it around. I'm going to lift. Okay, so make like a, whatever this is with your hand. Up, then I'm going to swim over the top. I'm going to collect his tricep, and as I do so, my elbow is going to rotate forward, try to come up all the way high on his forearm, then I'm going to pull his wrist back to my armpit. I'm working to trap his wrist between my arm and my body. I should be able to let go, and it'd be difficult for Joe to pull that hand back just naturally. Okay, he'd have to use a little bit of strength to get that thing back. Okay, maybe push and then yank that thing back kind of hard, but regardless, I'm going to try to hold his wrist in my armpit just like this. Now that I'm in this position, I've got control of his tricep, I've got control of his wrist, I can start initiating this takedown. Okay, so what I'm going to do is take a little step to my side and pull Joe to me. When I do so, what I have to do, instead of just bringing Joe to me this way, what I want to do is I want to bring him and then turn him to make him step with that foot pivoting on his left. If I just pull him forward, he's probably going to take a step with his left foot, and I don't want him to step with this one. I want him to pivot on that one. So as I bring Joe to me, I push his face away from me, which brings that single foot to me, leaving my foot in between his. Now I'm going to be able to let go of his head, bring my ear to his chest as my hand is pummeling back behind his body. I'm going to cup his hip as I'm cupping his tricep. So from this position, I've got really good head position. I've got really good body position on him. I'm leaning forward. My head and my shoulders are in front of my hips. Joe's head and shoulders are starting to come behind his hip. So from this position, I've got a couple things I can do. I could work an inside trip, or if we're continuing the position that we're working on this week, my feet come together. Now, guys, what I don't want to do is work on stepping, okay? I want you guys to concentrate on pushing your hip through. If I push my hip through, my foot's going to go where it needs to go. But if I think about stepping and taking a big step, my hip may not go where it needs to go. All right? So from this position, as I'm pulling in tight, my feet are going to come together. I'm going to shove my hip through, and my foot will find its home. From this position, I just straighten my legs. I'm in a good, stable base, pulling Joe over the top. I can kind of cup his body to slow down his descent. From this position, I'm probably going to work to this Kimura grip and either step over the top to an arm bar or start working towards his back. Okay? So again, guys, right off the bat, we're in grappling, maybe must gain that wrist control first. Now I can come to the collar. I'm going to lift, swim, and then trap that hand in your armpit. Step. Make Joe's head face away from me, so now we're perpendicular to each other as I release my hand and my hand comes behind his back. As that's happening, you'll watch what my head does. It comes to his body and starts pushing it away. Okay, this is going to allow my feet to come together. I'm in great position here. I'm shoving my hip through. My foot's going to find a home where it needs to. The concentration is on shoving that hip through. Pull up over the top. Holding this elbow, looking to the other direction. Swimming this hand through. I can start working an arm lock here, transition to the back, switch my grips for the Kimura, but I've got a lot of options. All right? If I'm doing this by myself, guys, it's going to be like this. Wrist control, shoulder, lift, pummel up over the top. So your hand's doing like a corkscrew. Once you get to that tricep, you're collecting with that elbow and bringing it tight back to your body. So from this position, I'm going to step and shove. My hand comes underneath. Feet come together. I shove that hip through, okay? Pulling over the top. If I need to adjust to get perpendicular for knee on belly, then I'll do so. So again, guys, Wrist control, head. Lift, swim, and collect that elbow. Okay, step, pull. That gets him to step behind me. We should now be perpendicular to each other. So from this position, I'm gonna pummel. Step between his legs. Turn. Shove my hip through as I pull, look over the opposite shoulder. Joe's gonna slide down my thigh. Look at that nice Hensler Gracie logo right there. Slide down my thigh to a good knee on belly position. Okay, one more time, guys, from our feet. Wrist control. Get the collar tie. Lift, pummel, and collect that elbow. So you may have to adjust your posture a little bit as you're to collect that elbow. Now that I've got it, I'm good. Step, push Joe. Come up underneath. Now I've got control of his hip, pulling it tight to my belly. Step, shove my hip through. Over the top. Transition to the arm lock. Boom. And break the wrist. Okay, so that wraps up what we're working on today and this week from our feet. No-gi style. There's absolutely no difference. You can do the exact same thing in gi if you want to. Most of the stuff that I show is very switching off back and forth, interchangeable between gi and no-gi, just the different gripping options. But this is one of those that you can immediately work right away, guys. Wrist control, pummel to that tricep, collect that elbow, almost the exact same position, gi or no-gi, okay? Do you have any questions, Jenny?
Just a few thumbs up from Rad World.
From Booker.
From Rad World.
We know Tony's watching. Heck yeah, him and his daughter.
Tony's doing all 4 classes every day.
That's right.
Yep.
Tony's going to be a black belt by the end of this sequester.
Arif17 RGR sends a thumbs up.
How's it going, guys?
Alkaline Teen sends those big eyes, the emoji.
I hope you enjoy it. I hope you learned a specific detail that you may not have known before.
Small stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's all in the details, guys. All in the details. Anybody else have anything else?
T Duke 37 says hi.
What's up, Taylor? How's it going?
Alkaline Teen says this up my alley. This
Good.
is up my
Hope you
alley.
enjoy. Now let's work on the ground stuff. Hopefully this will be up your alley too. So guys, we're going to use a belt for now, and then I'm going to show you how to do these same spider guard and lasso leg grips no-gi as well. Okay, so if I have my belt, foot falls in the middle, fall back to my back, and then I start working this position here. I want tension. My leg straightening creates that tension. So if the belt's loose right now, okay, my leg straightening is what creates that tension at my belt. So from this position, I'm going to push outside, push outside, push outside, push outside. Okay? So as you start becoming proficient at this, it's going to be a little bit smoother. What I'm not trying to do is just walk my feet straight. Okay? That's not it. I'm not marching. What I'm trying to do is control their posture. Side to side. Okay? If you guys notice, I don't have my arms out like this. Okay? I'm using too much arm strength there. I'm going to make sure that my palms are up. My elbows are tight to my body. It's like if I was flying a kite or something. All right? Juju, knock it off. From this position, guys, if I work with Joe now, I'm going to have a thumb outside, palm up grip here, not palm down. If I start working palm down, Joe starts pulling that arm back. It's going to be straight arm strength. His arms against my arms. He pulls back. Now I'm literally going to try to hold him, and that's not going to work. But if I control his hands with my palms up, now it's going to be a lot easier for me. I can even start using my foot, my shin to get back behind me. So again, foot to the outside, foot to the outside. I'm adjusting from hip to hip as I go. Okay, extended. I'm going to be on to that side. As I switch to the opposite side, I switch my hip as well. If I start working the lasso leg, out, over, behind. If you look at my hand where it's at now, I get to keep the same grip that I did before. It's the exact same as a hook grip right here. But I've got control of his wrist as I come through. Okay, I still need to bring my elbow tight to the ground. I'm still using my lasso leg. Okay, if I want to unwind this and try to the other side, then I'm going to spider over here, kick out, try to maintain good connectivity to him, slide my leg through, bring it back. If I have to adjust my grip, I push, bring it back inside, but now I'm controlling. Okay, if I want to start working the sweep, okay, what I'll do as soon as I get to this position, I'm going to bring my foot to the other side. I start to move my body perpendicular to his. What I like to do is spread my feet apart. That brings his elbow forward and really starts to control his posture forward. Normally he would probably try to plant with that hand, but he's unable to because I have a hold of it, okay? So I need him to plant this other hand. When I let go of my spider guard and my foot comes through to the other side, I'm going to control Joe's ankle. Now as I bring him forward and he plants, I can come underneath and control the underhook, controlling his thigh. Push his body away from me. I'm going to have to let go of this grip and re-grip with my thumb up like a joystick. So when I started rolling this way, remember my thumb was out, palm up. As I sit up, this is an awkward angle. And I'm probably going to release it without even knowing. When I do, I just turn around and grab it. All right? Now, from this position, guys, what's going to happen is I need to get to my feet. So I'm going to plant my hand as I start to move my body forward, kick that leg back. I can keep control of this leg and his head to control. I can pummel underneath, start working the top side arm lock. Or if you're crazy like Professor Ronnie, you can start working a baseball bat choke. Those things don't work anyway. Joe about to choke me unconscious like 3 weeks ago in a baseball bat choke.
About the baseball bat choke.
I'm like, I know I can do this. Nope. So guys, Gigi, knock it off. So again, guys, feet are on the hips, controlling the elbows tight to my body, thumbs outside, and I'm starting working my spider guard, side to side. Out, over the top, back behind, my elbow is still to the ground, hand is in front of my leg to reinforce. My foot comes across to the far side hip. As that happens, I'm releasing the hand, controlling the ankle. Now I'm going to bring this foot forward that forces Joe to the ground. If I don't have time to switch my grip to an underhook grip and he starts to roll, that's okay. You can maintain control on that outside of the leg. If you see my hand is already starting to come undone just because of the awkward angle. I can feel it coming out. I anticipate that happening and I just turn my hand over to the joystick grip, okay? So now from this position, I need to stand up and go to knee on belly. I can't do that with my head behind my feet, so I need to plant my hand. Come forward, get my head in front of my feet so that way I can kick my leg out. Now I can pummel back underneath for good control. One of my favorite chokes is that no-gi Ezekiel choke. Pass forward over to mount. Now a lot of good things are happening. Still maintain that control, start working the head and arm choke. Man, Joe's got a skinny neck. So guys, what are some questions that you guys have about that? Anything?
So Radworld says, I like how we've been going through these techniques all week. They're getting burnt into my brain.
That's good.
Yes, that's the point of focusing on one position, one kind of flow for the whole week at a time. I love that we do that here.
Yeah, what I've been trying to do, guys, is get you the basic technique at the beginning of the week. You know, some people are aware of kind of like my teaching methodology, but try to get like the core base position like Mondays and Tuesdays. As we get into Wednesday, it's our main training day. We're trying it out Thursdays. We're progressing that position, getting even further in details, asking questions on that and refining the technique. And then Friday we've got, and we transition to do it no-gi. So all throughout the week, we're getting even more details with this position. We set it up for Wednesday to be able to use these things in live training environment in typical classes. Thursday is our questions and answers period along with our live training, and then Friday goes into no-gi. So all along the while, we're working the same position along the way, just getting better and better and better and better at it as we go. So the one thing, guys, is, oh, the mailman's here. The one thing, guys, is that, you know, the more you come to class, the more in depth you're going to get into these positions. You know, it gets more detail, more detail, more detailed. So hopefully you're viewing along with these virtual classes. It's invigorating some fire in you guys to get in here more often. A lot of you guys train pretty much every day anyway, which is awesome. But if you're not one of those type of guys and there are girls, then hopefully you can get in here a little bit more. Also, hopefully if you used to train, whether it's with me or with somebody else, or you're watching in Seattle, Washington right now, or Salt Lake City, Utah, and you're enjoying the videos that are happening and you're kind of excited about jiu-jitsu again, hopefully you can get back into the academy you were training at. Or if it wasn't that environment, you didn't like it, maybe you can find a new one in your hometown and get into a better environment. What I would suggest you doing is kind of look and see if anybody else is teaching virtual classes right now, and look at how they teach and their methods and kind of the environment. You can get a lot on how a person teaches in the atmosphere of their academy by classes like this and how they interact with their students and people. So
Yeah, what a great opportunity to potentially some of us who were just thinking about starting jiu-jitsu for the very first time, getting basically in the comfort of your own home, free virtual trial class from multiple professors. Like Professor Brian said, tons of guys are doing this right now all over the world. So hopefully you guys are sharing these videos around too, because we want as many people to see it as possible, not just our students. We definitely miss you guys like crazy, but yeah, it's an awesome time for the jiu-jitsu community in general.
Okay, so Alkaline Teen is asking a question about the ground technique. How does simply one transition into that position for a white belt 4-stripe?
Any position, what's going to happen, whether you're gi or no gi, start working the lasso leg on the other side as that foot gets back behind. Joe's only got one really opportunity to pass my guard, and it's not going to be towards this lasso leg side. It's going to be, because I'm blocking him there, it's going to be towards this side. He's going to try to manipulate my foot off of his hip to start to pass. So as he does that, I can release. I just need to make sure that my foot finds his hip. If you see what happened there, Joe had to step forward. Okay, he's got his head and his shoulders in front of his feet, so he's leaning forward in a bad balanced position. So from this position, I'm just going to drag my foot, that's the lasso leg, forward. Okay, so this foot is controlling his posture and his depth of his body. My left foot, the lasso leg foot, is bringing his body forward. Okay, once we get into that position and he's planted his hand, this leg is the one that's going to dump him off of me. And like I said, as I fall up, I can feel it already, but I held on to it a little bit longer this time. See how high my elbow is? That's not a good position for me. I need my elbow low, and for that to happen, my hand's naturally just going to turn over and come to this joystick grip. Okay? So even from this position here, a lot of times what will happen is if I have this lasso leg, Joe will put one knee on the ground because he knows it's in a bad spot for me. So it's really going to be easy for me to come to him at that point. Turn that hand over again to that joystick grip here. I've underhooked his leg. This is the best position to control his legs. An underhook on top of the thigh. I know Gordon Ryan uses this position a lot. When you control underneath the leg, underhook the leg, hand on top of the thigh down by the knee. You got a bicep slicer here, but you're generally only going to be able to do that at purple belt and above if you're an IBJJF tournament, or some tournaments allow it depending on what the rules are, but you would just lean forward at this point. Okay, I can still step back out if I miss the bicep slicer and come to knee on belly or transition across quickly to the mount position. I hope that answered your question.
I have another question. Lauren Murphy.
Oh, Lauren Murphy wants to know.
Lauren Murphy's.
Yeah, I bet this is going to be amazing.
First, she says Joe is so dreamy.
Yeah, he's amazing.
But she's asking actually also that, let's see, she goes, actually, can you ask about transitioning to the omoplata from there, please?
Yeah, Brian showed that earlier this week in the
You should have been watching earlier. No, I'll show it to you.
He's got a really good transition to it.
So again, guys, what the question was when they go to defend. Okay, Ben asked this question earlier. I've got my spider guard on one side. I've got my lasso leg on the other side. I've got good control position here. Okay, but what's going to happen is Joe's going to start backing out and go to his knees. Okay, so from this position, I'm in kind of a bad spot here because I don't have the leverage that I need to sweep Joe. Okay, if I get my foot to his hip, it's going to be tough to drag him forward to make him plant his hand. Like, he's got no need to plant anything. Like, he's in a great position here. So from this position, what I'm going to do is I'm going to I'm going to rotate towards my lasso leg side. I'm going to reach over the top and grab on the back of his tricep. My foot has to stay in contact with his arm. So no matter where his arm goes, my foot is going to follow it. I just can't let go of his wrist and be lazy here because then he's going to start working control, and that is bad for me, okay? So my foot stays in contact with his arm, and I just stay connected. From this position, my hand's going to come over the top and grab the back of his tricep. From this position, now that I've got my grip set up, I let go of the lasso leg, kick as I bring Joe to me. As I bring Joe to me, his head should feed underneath the top of my leg. If Ginny looks on this far side, my foot's standing on top of his tricep. So that's how much connectivity I had with his body. I keep control of that, push that to the ground, and then shove his head underneath. Now my leg's gonna come over the top as I start to work the transition for the omoplata. Also from here, guys, the same thing. If I've got this same position, there we go. If I work the lasso and I got the same position, Joe backs out. I come over the top, grab the tricep. As I kick this leg, I'm just gonna kick this one over the top of him for a triangle as well. Foot on the hip, cross the arm, bam, wrist lock, arm bar, back to the triangle, straight arm bar, Joe's personal favorite, wrist lock, wrist lock, wrist lock, wrist lock, wrist lock. Mm-hmm. There's wrist lock there, guys, just in case you missed it.
Or 2 or 3
or 1,000. So I hope that answered your question, Lauren Murphy, MMA.com. You know, UFC fighters.
So to answer that one too, and the one that we had earlier about how would you find yourself in that position, remember guys, every time that we add something to the technique or all the live classes that we're doing this week, you can also find on our YouTube channel. So if you head to the website, scroll all the way down to the very bottom, all 3 icons are there, Facebook, Instagram, and the YouTube link. So Jenny's been uploading all of our virtual classes on the YouTube link. You can see how we started out in the beginning of the week in the very basic position. The gi class that Brian taught for that omoplata transition is in there also. And yeah, you guys can go back and check those out anytime. It doesn't have to be in the live format.
The one thing that I will bring up, guys, is on our YouTube channels, the videos are like this. I'm trying to work right now. We're working to flip them that way. So it might be a little bit better to fill up your TV screen or whatever you're watching on than if you're looking at it mobily, it's good because then that's the same direction that it needs to go. But if you're looking at it on a TV, I've got a lot of videos and pictures of people sending of their kids training or them training, and they have it up on the TV and it's the portrait. I'm going to work to get onto YouTube where it's the landscape. So off of this on our live, if you show it on your TV, if you have a smart TV or anything like that, it's going to show up as a portrait. And what I'm trying to transition to when we show these things and share them to YouTube, it'll end up being landscape, so you'll be able to see it better. All right. So.
So Daniel Leal, he I guess logged on a little late, so he missed like the first technique, and he would like to see that again.
You just trying to get me tossed on my head, Daniel? Come on, man.
Yep.
He just wants to see a little violence. That's all.
All right, guys. So I'll go back and show that takedown. Remember, guys, you can review this stuff as well after we get done showing it. After this virtual class, it'll post on our Facebook and Instagram page. You can go back and rewatch the whole thing. So again, wrist control, collar control. I'm going to lift, pommel my hand to the back of the tricep, and then collect his wrist with my arm. Okay? So I want to pinch his wrist in my armpit. From this position, I'm going to take a lateral step. My hand is going to push Joe's face perpendicular away from me. So I'm not just bringing his face to me. I'm actually making like a J and pushing his face away from me. That makes our bodies more perpendicular and generally is going to force him to step behind me instead of in front of me. Now I'm going to take this hand and release the grip. As I release the grip, my head is coming to his chest to control his posture backwards as my hand cups onto his hip. As you can see, the posture right now, Joe, his head and his shoulders are behind his feet, or at least even with them. And I'm going to continue to make him go that way. So I'm going to turn my foot because I have to start turning and facing the same direction. As I step across, it's not the step that I'm focusing on. It's shoving my hip through this opening. My foot's going to find its home where it needs to by itself. Hey, Joe, what you got going on here, guys?
Just a little tension.
So from this position, I'm going to step across. But remember, I'm focusing on shoving my hip through. My foot will find the home that it needs to. If you focus on stepping and then trying to shove your hip through, you're going to miss the entire thing. My butt cheek sticking out the side, I extend